Hey all, this is my AIMSweb presentation for Education 520. And yeah, so what is AIMSweb? AIMSweb is something that progress monitors, and it plays a crucial role in identifying students that like struggle with foundational literacy skills, and it helps educators kind of tailor instruction that meets their needs before they fall too behind. So it uses RTI for decision making, and it helps teachers kind of understand how our student is performing. Um, so what are the purpose and goals of AIMSweb? The biggest reason that we would use AIMSweb would be to kind of make some data-driven decisions about student learning. It's something that will help us find at-risk students and adjust our instruction based on some of the things that we find through the AIMSweb testing. It tracks progress and it just does a lot of really good things for giving us different instructional strategies that we may need and learning more about what our students struggle with. So how does AIMSweb works? It's something that's like a quick and standardized assessment, and it follows the same structure every single time. This is something that really helps whenever we're doing uh, long-term work on this and doing this every single day. It'll help students kind of with fluency, comprehension, and foundational literacy skills. It helps with phonemic awareness and phonics, and the data is just kind of something that is broken into little parts that can help you understand where your students are at and kind of some of the recommended instruction for based on what your student is struggling with. So, what are some of the important features of AIMSweb? AIMSweb has four key components that like make it something that's valuable for literacy instruction. For example, it's good at universal screening, progress monitoring, data-driven reports, and flexible administration. So we're able to kind of take some of the things that we get, some of the data that we get from our students' AIMSweb testing, and it can help us kind of drive into our instruction a little bit more. It also tracks students' progress. This is something that's great with our IEP and ELL students as well. So obviously this is a program that works and does great at scaffolding. And so we're able to kind of take some of these results and we can even kind of track some of this progress. Like for example, if I'm writing an IEP goal on having a student have a certain score by this date, we can kind of track progress through our quarterly reports. So that's something that's really nice about AIMSweb as well. So things that AIMSweb helps with, it directly supports literacy instruction, and it kind of helps us with reading development, phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, and it kind of helps us with different RTI frameworks. And so we're able to use all of these things to kind of direct our instruction with our students. It helps us understand what students are struggling. For example, especially if I'm a teacher in a big class, it's kind of difficult to kind of know exactly where all my students are, and maybe I'm missing out on something that's very specific in certain students that they might need reading intervention for. Maybe I see something, but maybe there's something that like just goes past me. Like I'm human, maybe I mess up. But this would really help me to kind of identify that, and then I can relay this to other teachers on my PLC days and I can kind of bring this student up and be like, hey, yeah, this student really struggles with decoding, and we could kind of build some instruction or pull them out to kind of work on that to build him back up to where the rest of the students in the classroom are. So AIMSweb is a really cool program. We use it in Bond County District. I'm currently a special ed teacher at high school, and our students actually do this at the elementary school that I've been observing at during my prep. And so they use AIMSweb during their reading instruction, and it's kind of been good for them. So how does it help ELL students? So ELL students, it kind of helps monitor language and literacy progress, and kind of make sure that like it just helps them with vocabulary a lot. And whenever they learn more words, it kind of scaffolds them off of it. And so that's kind of nice because whenever we kind of build up some of those basic words, we can kind of start building an understanding of English and working towards some of these more non-everyday words that are kind of thrown out in vocabulary, which can be really good for these kids. I do not, or sorry, excuse me. It helps with special education students as well. And I'm gonna kind of talk about this because My gosh, it's kind of bugging out on me. Let's see if I can get it to fix itself. Okay, so so AIMSweb helps IEP students by kind of meeting students where they're at with their decoding comprehension skills. It helps individualize student curriculum based on some of the student needs that they need, and it can kind of help us as teachers to understand where our students at and what areas we need to dive into. I've also had times whenever we're using this for students, and it has actually helped them kind of learn that, oh, we might need to test out this student. Like I have a kid in my fundamental class right now, which is the lowest level, and he scored really high on AIMSweb testing, so he's going to be actually moving next year. I'm recommending him to go to basic English, which is a level between general curriculum and my kind of life skills curriculum. And so he's going to be able to get pushed out more, and we kind of have some concrete numbers to evaluate what this student's at and whether or not they should be fundamental, basic, or regular ed. And so we're really following that least restrictive environment as much as we humanly can. Um, but so some of the advantages of AIMSweb is it's used in a lot of different school districts, so there's a lot of data on it. It's used in my school district. It helps with RTI interventions, so whenever we're looking at whether or not we should take a kid and pull a kid out, it kind of tells us, well, this kid's struggling compared to the rest of his class, and we need to really help him kind of catch up. It helps scaffold learners, and so like we can have a whole class working on AIMSweb, and it's gonna scaffold it to help each student work on what they need to do. So individualized learning is always really good, and it kind of is something that we can't do if we're sitting in front of a screen lecturing or working through a worksheet. It might not be able to have the same supports that AIMSweb could. And obviously, we can build in supports such as sentence starters and other things that can help students decode or graphic organizers that can help them organize their thoughts. But this is something that can kind of meet each student and kind of puts a little bit of burden off of us as teachers. Some of the disadvantages of AIMSweb, for example, is that it's just time consuming. It's something that we're gonna have to spend a lot of time on, and you're gonna have to have a lot of training on understanding what this data means and kind of how to change your instruction based on some of the data, the points that you get in AIMSweb. It's something that has to be done frequently to be effective. So, especially with the progress monitoring and helping students become better, it's something that we really have to be doing often in our classroom. And the way that they do it at the elementary that I'm observing at is it's about a 20 to 30-minute thing, and then they go into they're reading a book right now, and so they'll go through reading time and kind of answer some questions based on that. But they'll work on their AIMSweb stuff each day, and it's kind of been something that's kind of helped them, is what Mrs. Hodson says that I'm helping with. But a ton of data kind of helps you, like we see with special ed students, and honestly there's a little flag that pops up when you do it, but whenever students are guessing or kind of get test anxieties or really struggle with staying on task, they can guess above or below their level, and that can kind of change the way that AIMSweb works. It's just kind of something that really stinks. But often it does put a little flag up, and you can redo it. And here are some of the references that I used in this presentation. Thank you.